We found out that we were pregnant with our son Brady. I was incredibly nervous. I felt from the very beginning that something was going to go wrong. It's probably a common feeling for first-time moms. But in November of 2003, I delivered a healthy, bouncing baby boy. Textbook pregnancy, everything was fine. It was a blessing to find out a year after that we were pregnant again. I think this time, because I had already done it once, I didn't have any worries. I thought everything was going to go fine. When I got to about week 15, I noticed that for a couple of days I wasn't feeling that squirm after I would eat or when I would lay down, and I started to just question if something could be wrong. I went to the doctor. I didn't have a scheduled appointment. They said they would find a quick heartbeat and send me on my way, but the nurse couldn't find the heartbeat. We had lost the baby. We moved forward. The doctors reassured us that it was common to miscarry, but that it probably wouldn't happen again. I found out 3 months later that I was pregnant again, and the appointment was coming up, and I haven't felt the baby move for a couple days, and I'm just afraid that the whole thing is starting all over again. And I had this sinking feeling when I climbed up on the table for the ultrasound. I didn't want to look at the screen, and I remember the nurse saying, "I'm sorry." I started feeling discouraged, and my prayers became pretty pathetic. At that point, I was just praying that if God was going to take them, to please just take them earlier than later. We were discouraged but not beaten, so we tried again. 3 months later, I got pregnant again, and I didn't know what to pray. I was very discouraged, and I lost the baby at 12 weeks. We just pressed in towards God. One night, I remember a magazine came into the mail, and I just remember this thought pushing itself into my brain. And it's what I've come to know as the Lord speaking to me. And He said, "What would you name her?" And I thought for a minute, and I remembered a name of our cat when we were little. We named her Stella, and I loved the name. And I said I would name her Stella. And I turned the page that next moment, and there was a beautiful little girl's room. And on the wall, in wooden letters, it said Stella, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And I knew in that moment that the Lord was telling me, "You will have a daughter, and you will name her Stella." Got pregnant again, and I made it to 10 weeks, and I miscarried. And I knew that I just wanted to have a surgery and be done with it and adopt. It was a month after we got approved that I found out I was pregnant again. And I had really no hope that this pregnancy would last. And again, my prayer was, "Lord, just take it earlier than later." I opened my Bible one night, and I began to read the story of Naaman. And he was covered with a skin disease, and he went to go see the prophet Elijah. And when he came out, he was told to go dip in the water 7 times. And sometimes if we think about the answers that the Lord gives us, they're so unconventional, they don't make sense. But why not just tell Naaman to go dip in the water 1 time to get rid of his leprosy? Why 7 times? And this was going to be my my 7th pregnancy. And it gave me chills. I knew that the Lord was saying that if Naaman had walked away, and he wouldn't have gotten his healing. And his friends encouraged him. He did try to walk away, but his friends encouraged him to come back and said, "Just try it. Just do what he says and see if it works." And so he did. He went down to the water and he dipped, and on the 7th time he came up and he got his healing. And the Lord was telling me, "Believe in me and you'll get your healing too." Week after week went by, and we had a few scares. I remember going to Ray a few times and saying, "I'm sorry, we lost the baby." But we would go to the doctor and they would check me out and they would say, "The heartbeat is still there." And I remember begging the doctors to just give me a C-section and take the baby as early as they could. I just felt like she was safer outside of my body than inside of my body. And they did agree to take her once she was full term. So at 37 weeks, we scheduled a C-section. C-section, and on May 18th of 2012, we delivered our daughter Stella Noelle Severance.